What's up guys, it's Leash and welcome to the Refrag Academy. I'm going to be going over Anubis A Executes and let's get straight into it. So let's go over the basics of how this is going to look. You're either going to be doing execs from the back here without A main control, or you're going to be doing something more of a pop from inside of A main, or you're going to be doing some type of split from connector. I'll start off with the A main ones, and how this is typically going to look as a T against CTs is you will be facing CTs. If they are in A main, they will either be here, anti-flash with a rifle or an XM potentially, and they'll have an opper here or a rifler with an AK. This is also possible, and you always have to formulate your A execs from outside lobby with this in mind, that this is possible. And you also have to keep in mind that somebody can be playing close or playing off of sound cues from here, ready to Molotov or ready to smoke. So if you understand that, then you can make any micro that you want as long as they deal with that. And the main thing that I want you to keep in mind is how you're going to take A main. Typically, if you're doing this at the beginning of the round and you don't have A main control, that means you probably have the majority here, and you should at least have 4 people. And typically, you're going to have one guy is just having gun out. So this first guy is just going to be gunning out, and he's going to be hard clearing either here or he's hard clearing here, depending on what you know about the enemy. Second guy going to be doing the same thing. He's also just here for trades. And third guy, he's either going to be putting out the molly that's really close here, depending on what they're throwing, or he's going to be putting out this Molotov here. So 2 guys that are entering, 1 guy putting out the smoke, 4th guy throwing util set. And the util set that you usually are going to want is a smoke that's towards Z. So for this smoke, you can have somebody throwing it from here, and then this guy can lurk. Or there's also another smoke that you can have from here that's like outside A main that will be going through the windows. You can have it where someone's throwing like a Molotov on it and then smoke. Doesn't really matter. The goal is for someone to be smoking top of Z in some way, and someone that's going to be throwing flashes for you. So you want to make sure that you have flashes for A main. You need to have flashes for A main. Even if you don't see them in any of these positions that are immediately peeking, they can be playing the setup that I was talking about before. So you want to make sure that you're having someone that's on this wall that's just throwing these flashes to the right. You can even have it in some execs where you're throwing like a flash like this, and then someone's like throwing like a layered flash in the back. It doesn't really matter exactly like how it is. Like if you have 5 guys here, you can get everything down for sure. You can have 1 guy throwing like a flash here, and then like throwing the Molotov for the broken wall. You can have something like that, or you can have some guy throwing like this flash at the same time and then throwing like the heaven smoke. But the main things that you want to be focusing on is how are you going to deal with A main, and then what's the pathing when you're getting out. So when you're getting out as a T, you should be accounting for a smoke that's on these Z stairs, some type of Molotov that's helping you. So it could be either this Molotov or this Molotov towards fountain. I typically like having like a Molotov towards the fountain area because I think it's really powerful position for the CTs, and if you don't do something to account for it, then you're going to just be in a lot of trouble. So as you're coming out here, so let's just say the flash went off here. If you have 2 flashes, whatever they popped as you're coming up, at this point when you're here and you've already thrown flashes, then you are either Molotoved or you're smoked at that point. If you're smoked, then the third guy's role is actually usually to just throw like a flash like in the smoke. You can just throw like a flash like this, and then you just go through. Or he throws a flash like this, and then he throws a Molotov fountain, and then he runs through. This is the most ideal. Doing a flash and then a molly is the best because then the first 2 guys don't have to worry about anything. Typically want your first 2 guys here to be having their gun out the entire time. So if you do get smoked or mollied, either this guy is flashing if it's a smoke, or he's smoking and then Molotoving if it's a Molotov. And then the first 2 are running up here and they're just pathing extremely close, and they have to secure the trades on these 2 guys and make sure you're clearing like to the left of default and running up. This is typically the pathing that you want to do because as CTs, what you're going to be seeing is a smoke that's right here, and this is always a reaction smoke if you're not dealing with the smoke here. But even if you dealt with a smoke in A main, you're still going to be dealing with the reaction smoke from the guy that's rotating in through Z, because this is the only way that the mid player is going to be able to get out and help his teammate towards A. So you're always going to be seeing that. So your main goal as a T is to beat that timing where they can just get behind the smoke and kill you. Main other thing is the 4th guy, whatever way that you're having this done, you're always having flashes that go through the window, and these flashes are extremely strong strong because anyone that's running through is going to be getting blind here. So you want to be getting these flashes as you're going through because you want to be able to scale with something. And you're either like scaling with these two flashes going off at the time where there's one flash pop, second flash pop, and you're peeking up here, or you're somehow getting flashes that are going like on the fountain, where I know some teams, they also like doing like a flash that goes more in the corner here. Whatever it is, these are layered flashes, and you want these layered flashes on any exec, any map. You're doing these types of deeper executes that I would call them, where you have a lot more ground to cover. And third guy, I would say usually you want to be pathing like more towards the back where you're dealing with this stuff, and ideally getting up heaven if possible. For executes, I would say always the main priority are the nades that I've thrown. Lesser priority is heaven to me. I don't think that CTs really even enjoy playing heaven because they're not very favorable duels, so that's why I didn't really talk about having a heaven smoke. But there's always going to be some executes and things where you include having this smoke. I'm sure people are going to find weird smokes eventually that cover different things, but if you just live by the principles that you need this smoked because otherwise the CT players can just get free kills, especially if they're oppers, then you're not going to have a fun time. The players in sight, it's usually hard for them to deal with if you can play really fast on them, but if you're playing slower, then you can definitely use a Molotov. But I think that it's hard for the guy in sight to get multi-frags. Now let's talk about after plans real quick for A site. So you either want to have a main control and like have this whole area. This is something that you can definitely win with. You want to either have a main control and you're playing from the back here, or you're having Shrek control. So we call this Shrek because it's kind of like a swamp, but you're having this control up here and you're not putting as much of a focus on a main. You definitely can have a main if everything's going great. You have 5 alive, you have one guy a main, two guys that are playing in Shrek here or like towards heaven. That's where you pretty much just won the round. But if you're lower numbers, you kind of have to choose which one you're going to be playing, either towards a main, fountain, sight, or you're going to be playing like sight, heaven, Shrek. That's definitely possible. But if you don't have anyone a main, then you probably can't have anyone here, and then you're going to be playing more positions where, you know, 1 or 2 guys Shrek, one guy's like holding the run out here, one guy's like focused here, and you're not usually going to see someone go really late from CT spawn, but it's definitely possible. Always keep that in mind. This is a very strong angle, especially for after plans, because as a CT, just imagine when you're running out and you have all these angles. So he's typically going to be running out here, he's clearing heaven, and then he has to start worrying about sight, and that's where like these off angles are extremely strong, especially if you're having a guy that's able to hide in heaven, and he can like take like the first contact, so he like shoots, hides, this guy ends up killing the guy that's trying to like swing out to the left, and then as soon as he takes contact, you swing out again. For re-smokes on this, kind of depends on if you think they're going to be coming A main or Z, but if you have someone A main, obviously you don't need to smoke that, and then the priority smokes are going to be Z. This is usually the best spot for re-smokes, but you can definitely make a case sometimes for why you would smoke A main. Even if you're playing for A main, I would still want to re-smoke Z like as much as possible because it's extremely hard for them to come out. Or you can make a case for smoking heaven as well, just so, you know, if you are playing default A main fountain, then you have one less thing to worry about. Because how the CTs typically play these after plans is they have this guy play as the very last person. So these guys will start running out, they're running down the stairs, clearing everything, and as soon as they take contact with this fountain guy, then he swings out, and like he gets this contact as soon as fountain is fighting somebody or a main is fighting somebody. He's playing as the very last guy, because if you play first as a CT, then you're pretty much just going to die for free and you're not going to be really that happy. In general, that is how you want to approach A. Either you're going to be playing really fast and popping on them, or you're having a lot of like layered flashes, everything's accounted for type of things. Now when you're coming through Z, you can honestly have this majority out A main or majority that are coming towards Z, but the essentials are going to be doing like this smoke towards exit. And if you're ever going to have the majority here, then you actually can't really go into A main. It's actually very difficult because if you have 3, then you only have 2 towards A main and you have no one that is able to flash off any of the strong angles that we talked about. So you'll typically see these players playing first whenever you're seeing the majority towards Z, and you're going to have these flashes that are extremely important. You want to throw these flashes through the window, and the goal is for them to be over Z. Some really nice flashes that you could have that are like over it, where you could just like throw like walk throws here or like flashes here. I think any of these pretty much work. As soon as the T's are coming through like the staircase, they're asking for the flashes and they're able to just go with it, and it's really hard for the CTs to deal with. And if you are playing, you know, 3-2 or 4-1, if it's 4-1, then the goal for this guy is to just play as late as possible, survive, don't die. That's pretty much the goal, because they're gonna want to push you. They might even push through canals here as well, so just live. And if you're playing 3-2, then you actually have an extra guy that can help you. You can have your teammate that's throwing a flash A main for you, and you can clear this, and you can kind of pinch them together. Make sure that you're always playing second, and you ask for that flash while your teammates are around this area. The CTs are usually going to be playing A main. If you you didn't already get into a bunch of engagements like this, and this crunch will be extremely strong. So priority plant positions on A is going to be playing in the very open like this. This is extremely strong. A lot of times you won't be able to because this smoke is usually going to be up, and depending on how successful you were in scaling and taking the side and everything like that, it might not always be possible. Maybe the CTs actually got out, but you know, duels are happening, everything's going on, and you're not able to plant out in the open. Usually you want to plant right here, that's like kind of for a main, but not so it's tucked away that they can plant behind. So this is pretty much the default plant position, I'd say. If you can plant for everything, this is great. I'd say that this isn't as good because then someone from heaven can't play for it, but it's still really good too. I would just prefer this one, but I'd say this little triangle of plant spots are the best possible. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This has been the A Execs on Anubis.